Yes, sir. Welcome to the Dynasty Chat Podcast. It's your host, T-Star, your highness, and I'm here to bring it real live in them facts. In them facts, hey, we gotta watch out for them haters. Because sometimes them haters will set up traps for you to fall in. Sometimes them haters will try to cause you to have some type of emotional outburst to make a fool of yourself. So we gotta be careful on how we handle ourselves and how we respond to these haters, because sometimes the plan that comes with it, and that plan is to what? Take you down, destroy what you got going on, trying to trick you out your position. Hey, don't let them trick you out your position. We can't have that. We can't have that, because the haters, they want to see you down. They want to see you down. For example, you could be at the airport. You trying to make your flight. You come up to the ticket booth, you showing your ticket, you're trying to get in there. Hey, but the lady's getting real rude with you, saying slick things. See, what she wants you to do is cuss her out, act a fool, tell her this, that, and that, so you can miss your flight. And if you get into a fight with the lady, hey, guess what? You're going to get banned from your entire trip. You know, the enemy, they're going to set out traps. You know, for example, you know, you could be on the job and a co-worker comes up to you, say some slick, disrespectful stuff, and since you know, you got control of yourself, they think that, hey, if they do this, that, and that, and the other, and say this and that, then they can get an emotional response out of you, and possibly get an outburst out of you to make you look crazy on your job, to make you look like you're the angry one, you know, to make you look like you're the one who's causing problems around the workplace. But what you gotta do is hold your composure, you know, don't give them what they're looking for, because once you give people what they're looking for, it means they have the button to control you. If people think, hey, I can do this, I can get them to do that. Hey, if I do that, I can get them to do this. Don't let anybody have that on button on you, that control button on you, you know what I'm saying? You can't let them do that. You can't give your power over. You gotta stay in power. So if anyone can say something or do something to make you act out of character, to make you look like a raging maniac in public, for them to make you look like you don't have any self-control as a grown man or a grown woman, hey, that's not gonna fly. That's not gonna fly. You gotta take your power back. You can't let anyone just come up to you and better say something and for you to just explode and go crazy. We gotta have more self-control out here. You know? We got to. We gotta stay on our Q's and P's. And make sure everybody, you know, make sure you subscribe if you're watching this on YouTube, if you're watching this on Kick, and if you're watching this on Facebook, make sure you share this stream, because hey, we gotta stay on our Q's and P's, because when you're on your T, when you're on your grind, and you're leveling up, there's always some onlookers who want to take you down, who want to stop your progress, who don't want to see you have food on your table. They want to see you starve. They want to see you out in the streets. They want to see you down and out. But we got to keep on pushing. And just because they want it don't mean they're going to get it. You know, we got to keep that most high on our side so we can strive and survive and make it, because all these forces are trying to come against us to take us down. You might even have witches and warlocks in your community, in your job, in your school, in the program, in your dance class, who take a liking of you. Decided, hey, I want to put some of that magic on them, some of that witchcraft on them. I don't like old girl. She looking too pretty. I want to stop that. I'm gonna make her uglier. And we gotta put on our full armor to protect us from these type of things. You know, the full armor of the Most High. You gotta do your research on that because everything's not a physical battle. Some things are spiritual battles. And we're fighting against principalities in high places, and we gotta have that armor. You know, we gotta have that protection, and we gotta keep our heads on the swivel. You know, because they're looking for the setup. They're looking for the setup. Hey, and I got a little scripture for y'all. We could put this in the place of what I'm speaking about. Psalm 7 through 15. He makes a pit, digging it out, and falls into the hole that he has made. So your enemies, the pit they trying to dig for you, the trap they trying to set up for you, hey, they destined to fall in it themselves. So while they thinking negative of you, I'm taking you down, they gonna be the one going down. You know what I mean? And whoever digs a pit will fall into it, and the stone will come back on him. Starts rolling. That's Proverbs 26 through 27. That's describing, hey, whoever digs that pit, they're gonna fall into it. You know, and all that other stuff they put out there is gonna come back on them. It's gonna come back on them, man. And it's not gonna be a pretty thing. It's not gonna be a pretty day. You know, hey, what goes around comes around. But my main agenda of bringing up this topic of don't be fooled by the traps of the haters, because people are setting stuff out there for you to fall into, to cause massive damage, to destroy what you got going on, to prevent your success. And you gotta fight back. You got to fight back, and you got to use your intuition. You know, when you got that intuition, you know that Most High gonna put it on your mind, and the red flag gonna come up like something ain't right. Something here is not okay. You know what I mean? And you gotta use that intuition to avoid those traps. Listen to that voice in your mind. Hey, don't go there. Don't do that. You know, don't have that angry outburst. You know, keep your composure. You gotta listen to that voice in your head sometimes, because the other voice, that negative voice in your shoulder, hey, it can lead you to destruction, and it can lead for your haters to have the keys to your demise. And we don't want that. We don't want them haters that have the keys to your demise, because then they can say, hey, let's end them and let's keep them going. So you gotta keep the power in your hands. And you gotta watch out for these haters. You know, because they are here to take you down. You know, people ain't working on nothing. They ain't got nothing major going on. And they see you got something going on, and they see that you looking good and you smelling good, and people are reacting to you and laughing with you and gathering around you and asking you for help and information and knowledge, and they don't like it. You're getting their attention. You're getting the attention that they want, you know. There's always going to be that person, that hater in the mix. And you got to be prepared for whatever traps or weapons they set out to destroy you, because the enemy uses open vessels to jump into to do his work, to do his work. And so if someone's not in alignment with the Most High, or they're not a good person, it's easy for the enemy to jump into them. It's kind of like the Matrix, when everywhere John Wick went, well, not John Wick, but, you know, the main character, everywhere he went, the people turned into Mr. Smith. It's like everywhere they go, why there's a Mr. Smith? Because that's the enemy using other people's as a vessel to jump into them, because they don't have any protection. They don't have their full armor on them. They don't apply that full armor, and you say these quotes like, no weapon formed against me shall prosper. Then you subject to be body snatch taking over, you know, and that's just not a good thing to be used and manipulated by an enemy who can just hit the on and off button on you. So everybody, make sure you stay covered and prayed up, because this is deeper than just a physical thing. This is a spiritual battle. And, you know, we're at war, and you know, and the enemy doesn't want to see you win. And the enemy's gonna rear his head when things start going good in your life. You know, the enemy don't care when things are going bad in your life. It's like his work is being done. So you gotta expect the attack from the enemy to try to take you down whenever you're on that hiatus, whenever you're on that vibe, whenever things are going right, nice and smooth, everything is feeling great. You know what I mean? Everything is feeling like Tony the Tiger. Great. You know what I mean? When it's feeling great, hey, that's when the enemy wants to pop his head and say, hey, you gotta stop this, you gotta shut this down. You know what I mean? But we can't let that happen. We can't let that happen, because we gotta stay winning. We gotta stay winning, you know what I mean? Yes sir, yes sir. Big W's in the chat for the win. Big W's in the chat for the win. And big L for the haters. Big L's for the haters. Tell them the haters stay out our way. You know, because that's the losing position. That's the losing position. And that's not where you want to be. So tune in. I'm going to do some more, another stream later on. So everybody seen this, go to YouTube, T-Star Your Highness, on Dynasty Chat Podcast. And tune in. We're going to come with this good game, this good knowledge, and we're going to give you some stuff from the Bible to refer to, and we're going to give you the tools you need to succeed and achieve. Make sure you follow for more.